Fall is all about cozy comforts, and with Hero Bread, you can enjoy all your favorites and still hit your health goals. From breakfast bagels and meal prepped enchiladas to mouth-watering burgers and cheesy noodles. You won't believe Hero Bread's options have 0 to 5 grams net carbs and are high fiber from the taste and texture. And right now, Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use code FALL25 at checkout. That's FALL25 at hero.co. All figures are per serving of Hero Bread. Contains 2 to 18 grams of fat per serving. See the product nutrition panels on hero.co for more information.
Hey everybody, I'm Michael Andersen, and this is Fantasy Avenue, where each week we talk about everything you need to know in the world of fantasy football. Okay, hello. Welcome to Fantasy Avenue, episode 2. Today we'll be talking about the quarterback. Even though this is the position in the NFL, right? In fantasy, it's not as valuable. And this is something people that are new to fantasy football don't know, really. But the difference, this is how I like to explain it. The difference between the top quarterback and the average quarterback, right, in points, versus the difference between the top wide receiver and the average wide receiver. The difference between the quarterbacks is way less. So you're getting more value when picking a high wide receiver and an okay quarterback versus picking a great quarterback and an okay wide receiver. And not even that, like you can pick a Devontae Adams and a Josh Allen, but you don't want to reach for the Josh Allen. There's no point. I've seen people do it. There's no point in drafting a quarterback round 1 or even 2. 3 is risky. I would say the end of round 3 or 4 is when you want to start drafting the crazy guys. Like get yourself running backs, wide receivers, maybe a tight end, right? Maybe Travis Kelce or something like that, and then get yourself a quarterback. Like, because guys like, I don't know, Aaron Rodgers, not really this year, but let's say Dak Prescott, you'll get him pretty dang late compared to Josh Allen, and yet he'll still be a good, viable quarterback. And if the draft falls right, you can get yourself a Josh Allen too. You can get all the good guys you want and a Josh Allen. It's really just up to, not reaching. Okay, so let's get into this. One thing I want to say first, just about draft strategy in general. Again, this is a 10-player PPR league. Is what I kind of base it on. This is what I try to do. Draft your starters before your backups, unless there's crazy value. So I really like to go, right, because there's also a flex position. So either 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers, or 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs. But I like to fill every starting position besides defense and kicker before I start drafting backups. Unless I mean, it is kind of risky, but if there's just an insane wide receiver that you had ranked, let's say your 15 wide receiver, and your 30th wide receiver is getting drafted, and it's your choice, but you don't have a tight end yet, maybe pick up the wide receiver if you're that high on him. I just like to keep it balanced. I like to fill out all my guys. I'm kind of antsy like that, you know. I really like to get all my dudes before I start reaching back and putting them on my bench. But value is really key in fantasy football drafting. You don't want to waste picks. You don't want to pick guys earlier than you have to. In the end, you want to get every single guy you would have wanted. All right, so let's get this quarterback list started. The NFL position, but not the biggest fantasy football position. And my number 1 player, Josh Allen, is looking to change that, just like he did last year. He was the first quarterback since 2012 to be the repeat leader in fantasy football last year. So the last 2 years, he's been the quarterback. And I believe he has no reason to do that as the best. Like, I have no reason to doubt he'll be the best quarterback again. He's on crazy offense, good coaching. They're fired up about how they left the playoffs last year, right? So you know he's not going to be taking anything easy. And really, get yourself a quarterback with a pair of legs. Like, that is what's going to score you some points. Quarterbacks who can run, maybe not crazy amount, right? We've seen Peyton Manning's, who had the best season that quarterbacks ever had in 2013, I think it was. Right, he didn't run. But overall, if you're just looking at fantasy points, unless a guy's thrown for 55 touchdowns, legs are valuable. And Josh Allen has the legs. I mean, I've seen him hurdle dudes. Like, no quarterback's doing that. So yeah, he's the kind of guy. Now, Justin Herbert, number 2. The man out in Los Angeles. With an even stronger team coming into his 3rd year, right? The Chargers loading up to compete in the AFC West. And with a 5,000-yard arm capable of throwing for that and legs that can also, they don't hang with Josh Allen, right? His legs, but he's got Patrick Mahomes' legs. He can scramble and he can run. With all those attributes, I believe he will be the 2nd best quarterback in fantasy football this year. Number 3 is, as I just mentioned, Patrick Mahomes. He's so consistent. There was a little drop in talent around him, right? A lot of his targets went to Tyreek Hill, who is gone now. So that's a little scary. But some say he is the most talented quarterback in the NFL. I don't know. I would have to think about who my most talented quarterback is. But he has the talent to make up for everything that he doesn't do right. Okay. My number, 4? I believe it's my number 4 quarterback, is Lamar Jackson. Now, this is a bit of a risky pick, but he has, obviously, I love talking about people's legs. He's got more risk than the top 3. His the top 3 are the top 3, really no doubt about it. But his legs can push him into points that are quarterback plus running back, right? Combined points. He can get 1,000 yards and be a top 10 quarterback. I don't really like when people, I think it's funny when people call him, the running back on the Ravens. He can still play quarterback, and he can run like a running back for sure. So that double fantasy points, we've seen it during his MVP season. He can be freaking good. Number 5, Tom Brady. Tommy Boy Brady. I don't know. I'm not the hugest fan of Tom Brady, but you have to respect him. This list can get a little crazy outside of those top 4, but he is the most consistent quarterback for the last, 58 years that he's been in the league. Nobody can hang with him, like, consistency-wise. And he was I don't know how many people knew this, but in a PPR league, he was the number 2 quarterback last year. Like, holy crap, he just came out of nowhere and dominated. So, if you, hop on the Tom Brady hype train, I guess. Because even in his ripe age of 82, he's still balling out. Okay, number 6. It's a bit of a risk right here. But Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. He has a great offensive line. The possibilities, right, the kind of things that make you love him just stack up when you talk about him. He's a great offensive line. Revamped around him, including a brand new receiver from the Titans, who apparently, I didn't know this, but him and A.J. Brown are like best friends. He's A.J. Brown's kid's godfather. Like, they already have a connection. Plus his running ability, right? His ability to escape the pocket. He's got Lamar Jackson legs. Everything about him is just pointing for a great year. So I'm excited. If you want a risky pick, if you want a value pick, right? People are kind of like, Jalen Hurts, not really a top quarterback. Go ahead and grab him and shock the world. Next we have Russell Wilson out in Denver. He's coming hungry to a new team. I'm excited for week 1 when he plays the Seahawks. I think he's going to go for like 40 points in that game. He looks like he already has good connection with the Broncos offense, with the Broncos receivers. And he should shine with those young weapons in a new system more tailored toward him. I'm really excited for Russell Wilson. I think he can shock a lot of people that said he's washed after a finger injury. Like, come on, that's not going to end one of the greatest quarterbacks in the last 10 years of his career. It's not. No. So, anyway, he's a boomer for sure, right there. He's a boom pick. Number 8, we have Matthew Stafford. While the rest of the guys really on this list, like as I go down, besides Joe Burrow, who I'll get to in a second, have wide receiver problems, Matthew Stafford has the complete opposite. He lost Robert Woods, but he got a new guy. I'm blanking on his name right now, but OBJ coming off of injury, and of course Cooper Kupp. like the best wide receiver in football. He has so many weapons coming off the Super Bowl win. They're hungry for another one. Matthew Stafford, I mean, he's not going to be, right? He's never going to win you. Well, let's not say never, but he will rarely win you a week like Josh Allen can, but he will score you consistent points with his great weapons around him every single week. Next guy on the list, number 9, Joe Burrow. This is the last guy, as I said before, last guy on the list with a solid wide receiver corp. The Bengals should continue to lean on him, and I've heard lean on him more. They want to go more into the pass game, which is important for, as I've talked about in the last episode, Joe Mixon, right? He's catching the ball more. Obviously, Jamar Chase going to have a huge year. T. Higgins coming into his own. Those are 3 big weapons for Joe Burrow to feed on. He's getting more comfortable in the league, and after losing a Super Bowl that Joe Shiesty wants another one. He wants another chance. So I'm definitely on the, well, don't want to say I'm on the hype train, right? All those kids who think they're Joe Burrow, but I'm kind of on the hype train. He's going to have a big year. Number 10, Dak Prescott. A little bit of a risk. He's been injured in the past, but the Cowboys, for some reason, just throw the ball. Don't really give Zeke a chance down there. I mean, they do, but anyway, Dak Prescott throws the ball so much. I'm pretty sure, I think it was the year before. Can't remember if it was last year or the year before or whatever, but he's led the league in throws, let's just say. He's led the league in attempts, and he's led the league in yards. He's really good. One thing about him is he only has one true wide receiver, honestly, CeeDee Lamb, who is going to have a huge year. We'll get to them in later episodes, obviously, in the wide receiver one. But he only has, with Lamb on the field, their connection is going to be crazy. And unfortunately, that's all they have with Gallup hurt, coming off an injury, and Amari Cooper obviously traded. It could be a bit rocky, but they're not going to stop throwing the ball, especially if it gets rocky and then the Cowboys start losing games. They're going to throw the ball. So Dak Prescott is a surefire, 40 attempts a game. He'll get you some yards. Let's just say that. Number 11, Aaron Rodgers. This last year, I think I had him ranked number 2. This might be the worst wide receiver corps of his career. And really, I don't know how many great quarterbacks, right? Just easily, no doubt about it, Hall of Fame quarterbacks have ever had this bad of a wide receiver group to work with. It's pretty dismal down in the Bay. So we'll see. We'll see if we see the MVP of the past come into the forefront. I think his, as I've talked about, the ceiling and the floor, right? He has a pretty high floor because he's Aaron Rodgers. There's only so much bad he can do. He's pretty dang good. But I think his ceiling is way lower than any of the guys who can run, right? Lamar Jackson, any of them. But it's lower than Josh Allen and stuff just because of his supporting cast. There's only so much you can do without guys like Devontae Adams. So the main thing with Rodgers is you just don't want to reach. You don't want to be the guy who reaches for, A-Rod, he's on the board. Let me take him. Don't get some bad value for him, even though he is Aaron Rodgers. Number 12, the last quarterback. So for quarterbacks, I'll do top 12 plus sleepers and busts. We'll get to them in a second here. And then for wide receivers and running backs, I will do top 16 because you need more receivers and running backs in standard leagues than quarterbacks. So anyway, number 12, last quarterback on my top player list. Kyler Murray, Arizona Cardinal. So this guy, wow, with the start of last season, he was looking so good, so exciting, and then he just kind of fell off. And again, this year, he's just a big question mark. He's electric as heck. He's a good player, electric as heck. But there's always some stuff. With him, with the trades of his receivers, the suspension of his number 1 D-Hop, right, DeAndre Hopkins, he's gone, and the arrest of Hollywood Brown speeding. I had Hollywood Brown rated as a huge guy coming into this year. He'll be the number 1, and maybe he will be. But with that pending, right, Kyler Murray just gets more risky. He's going to try to build on his start from last season. There's just some risks. But again, he's Kyler Murray. Like after that top 12, the guys get a little shaky. Don't be scared of Kyler Murray. Just don't be picking Kyler Murray thinking he'll do what he did last year at the start of the year. He could, but I think at the start of the first, until DeAndre Hopkins comes back, it might be a bit of a rough stretch. So we'll see. But he's still a great player. Okay, and now let's get to the second half. I guess these will be on all my player ranked lists, right? Every position. I will have my sleepers / undervalued players and my busts / overvalued players. Sleepers / undervalued are guys that are flying under the radar that could easily way outperform their predictions / expectations. They could be really good players that are just going to be really, really good, or they could be guys that you might not even heard of that I'm telling you will boom. So we'll get to them. And then the bust / overvalued. Guys that are being hyped or top guys for a long time that are now to the point of extremely bad value in drafts. So you'll see them on the websites. You'll see your friends talking about them. They're big names or hyped names that are just too far. And when they come up on your board, you have to really fight that because you could get better players. You have to fight that, that urge to pick the guy, to have a good-looking team on paper because they could be busts when the season gets in. So let's get into this list. My sleepers / undervalued players. Number one is Jalen Hurts. I've already talked about him, but he is a huge sleeper. I have him listed super high with the team improvements and his value versus his average draft position. Like he'll be going behind guys like Aaron Rodgers just based on past experience of fantasy players, and he will. I guarantee he'll have a better year than some of these guys he'll go in front of, go behind of. He will have a good year, but because of his name, he'll fall a little bit. And don't be scared. Pick up that value whenever you need to. He's a sleeper for sure. My second sleeper is my boy Tua Tagovailoa. There's been a lot of hate. I've seen it on Instagram, right, of Tua. But with the huge offensive improvements, Tyreek Hill, you've probably heard the talk of how good Tua is for Tyreek. Whatever you believe, Tua finally has a weapon that he should do well with. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, but he should. A revamped offensive line, a new coach. All the signs point to a good year for someone who even I've seen him not drafted in leagues. So you could maybe try to pick him up on the waiver wire, or you could just grab him with the last round pick and have a good, solid backup quarterback. Because you really don't need. You can go with a double quarterback approach, starting every week, or you can just go with grab a top guy, Patrick Mahomes, and grab a guy who, if Patrick Mahomes is hurt or bye week, can fill in well. And Tua will be a fill-in well player. My last quarterback sleeper today will be Derek Carr. Once again, with the addition of a great wide receiver, this time Devontae Adams. Who knows the jump in production Carr might have? They already have a connection, so there's going to be some fire there. And he has Renfro and Waller too. That big three is really scary. This is, I believe, the year. Now, don't get mad at me for this if you're a Derek Carr fan, but I believe he has been good his whole career. I don't think he's ever been great, and I don't think he's ever really been bad. But I don't think with the Derek Carr of old, I don't think the Raiders would ever have won a Super Bowl, even had a chance. He's good. He's not great. He never really consistently won the Raiders games like we've seen great guys do, like Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes. We've seen them carry their team half the games in the season. Derek Carr has always been just a good guy. And I think with the addition of the guys, he could become a great. He could pop into the top 12, right? But there's just too many unknowns. You never really know. But there's definitely some hype. He's definitely a sleeper. A guy who's being undervalued and could just fly into the rankings next year. Okay, that is my sleeper / undervalued for quarterbacks. Now we are to busts / overvalued players. Number one, A-Rod, Aaron Rodgers. While I still expect a good season, right? I've talked about it. He was on my list. People must be wary of his wide receivers and not drafting him, expecting him to have a bounce back MVP year. I just like his ceiling is just not where it was. He can be a starter if you do the draft kind of strategy, right, where you go running back, receiver, or running back, tight end, receiver. These are all examples. If you're waiting until like the 7th round to get a quarterback, you could probably snag Rodgers and have a pretty good starter, a 75% starter versus the 100% of Josh Allen. So there's some strategy, but you can't expect him to be 100%. I don't think to be the guy. Number 2, Deshaun Watson. If he has a 17-game season, which he will not, there's no chance. If he did, I believe he'd be a top 10, maybe top 5 quarterback with the Browns. He's finally on a good team. But with all this pending stuff, the 6 games, looking like the NFL might turn it longer to like show some authority, I guess. There's just too many risks to even take a chance on drafting him. Like, it's not like an injury that he might be ready to go and then have a bounce back, comeback player of the year. There is stuff that he can't get out of at this point, and it's only going to get worse at this point. And I think if you're in a league with good fantasy players, no one will draft him. So maybe if he comes back in the last weeks and you need a quarterback, snag him. But honestly, don't waste a picking a guy that might not play a game, is all I think. Okay, and then now the last player I'm going to talk about today is a bust/overvalued Trey Lance, quarterback on the 49ers. There's some hype, a lot of hype, and probably a starting job on the 49ers next season. Lance is really interesting, but there's just too many questions. I've seen the videos of him, right, and like throw a 80-yard touchdown pass, and then fast forward and he throws just a blatant pick that high schoolers are throwing. There's some development that still needs to happen, and you really don't like having a starting quarterback in fantasy football need development. You don't want your starting quarterback to be in a developing year. He would be a good backup. I think he'll be on the Tua level, but while Tua is rising up to a backup level, I think Trey Lance is falling. So he's just he's too scary of a risk to say, yeah, this is my guy, Trey Lance. He's going off. I think there's just a little bit too many risks for him, but you never know. So that is my quarterback list. Remember, don't draft anybody too high. Don't be reaching for quarterbacks, but, get yourself a Josh Allen. You have a good chance of winning your fantasy league, in all honesty. If you get value on a top guy, you have a great chance of winning some games. So that is my quarterbacks. Thank you for listening. This is Fantasy Avenue, and I will see you next episode. Peace.